Hey y'all, it's Amanda again from Recipes Worth Repeating, and today we're going to be making my Southwestern Crockpot beef stew. So, I grew up in a household where everyone cooked. My mom cooked, my dad cooked. Mom was more of a cooker, my dad was more of the baker, but everybody cooked. And one day when my dad came home from work, he came home with all of these ingredients to make something that I thought was a chili recipe. But when I asked him what he was making, he said, no, I'm going to be making a Southwest stew. Well, we've never had that before in our house. And I was like 9 years old at this time. And so the tomatoes that he put in the stew and the pinto beans and picante sauce, I didn't even know what picante sauce was. But after he made that Southwest stew, that was the most incredibly delicious stew I had ever had in my entire life. And I continued making that with my family. My daughter loves it, my son loves it, and my husband, he likes it as well, and he's not even a big fan of tomatoes. So today I'm going to show you how easy it is to make this stew recipe. And we're going to be making it in the crock pot. You can definitely make it on the stove top with a big pot, but why not make your life a little bit easier and let the slow cooker do all the work for you? So let's take a look at some of the ingredients that we'll be using in this stew recipe. You're going to start out by using 2 pounds of lean ground beef. Today I've got 93% lean ground beef, but you could also use ground turkey or ground chicken. They all work really well in this stew. Then we're going to use 2 cans of petite diced tomatoes. It'll be about 28 ounces of diced tomatoes. And then we're going to take a look at adding in chili beans. Now the chili beans that I use, they contain the sauce. You can use a can of pinto beans, but I love the beans that come with the chili sauce. And Bush's is my favorite brand to use in this recipe. We're going to add a little bit of canned corn that's been drained just to give it a little bit of Southwestern flair. And then we're going to add in paste picante sauce. Not salsa. It has to be paste picante sauce. This is the secret ingredient. This is what gives it that zesty Southwestern flair that really sets this recipe over the top flavor-wise. We're going to chop up an onion and we're going to brown that with the beef. And then we're going to add in some of my favorite spices. We're going to be using chili powder, we're going to be using cumin, salt, pepper, and garlic powder. So let me show you how easy it is to make this stew for your family dinner. Go ahead and light your stovetop burner to medium-high heat, and then add in 2 pounds of ground beef so that you can start the browning process. Once the ground beef has been browned, remove it from the stovetop and set aside. So we're going to start by chopping an onion. And I've gone ahead and I've removed the ends of the onion and the outer peeling. Now this recipe calls for 1.5 cups of diced onion. A lot of people don't like that much onion. So you can use 1/2 cup, you can use a cup, or you can use the full 1.5 cups. For this recipe today, I'm going to be using 1 cup, mainly because my husband doesn't love onions. So after you get your onion peeled, you're going to go ahead and you're going to start chopping the onion. If you have a vegetable chopper, definitely can use that. But I'm going a little old school today because this is how my dad used to do it, and he chopped his onions just like this. So chop your onions and then set it aside. So once you finish browning your meat and chopping your onions, you're ready to add all of the stew ingredients into the crock pot. So let's start with the ground beef. There's a couple things about the beef that I want to touch on before we add it in. First of all, a lot of people choose to not even brown their ground beef. Since it's going to be in the crock pot cooking for such a long time, a lot of people like the crock pot to do the browning for them, and it's cooked all the way through, so there's no risks. However, some people just feel better about browning the meat on the stove top. So I've gone ahead and I've browned the meat, and I'm going to go ahead and add it to the crock pot. Now, I didn't drain the fat from the beef. because that's where the flavor is. And because I'm using a 93% lean ground beef, I wanted a little bit of extra flavor from the beans. Next, we're gonna go ahead and add in the diced onions. And then I'm going to add in 1 cup of paste picante sauce. Now, let's talk about this for just a minute because there's different heats associated to paste picante sauce. You can use mild, you can use medium, or you can use hot. So if you like spicy stews, spicy chilies, then definitely use the hot. I love medium. That's the flavor that my family loves. So I'm adding in 1 cup of medium paste picante sauce. Next, you're gonna add in 2 cans of 14.5 ounces of petite diced tomatoes. You can use regular diced tomatoes if you want, but because my husband doesn't love biting into a chunk of tomato, I go ahead and I use petite dice just for him. There's no need to drain those tomatoes, just empty them in from the can. Next, we're gonna add in the pinto beans. Again, the ones that I love is the ones that come with the chili sauce. I don't drain them because there's a ton of flavor in these beans. But if you like canned pinto beans, definitely use those, and you can drain them or not drain them. It's totally up to you. I like the extra flavor, so I go ahead and I add those in without draining. And then I add in 1 can of corn. Now I've gone ahead and I've drained the corn. I don't like the extra juice that the corn provides. So drain that corn and get that added to your crock pot. And then you need 3/4 cups of water just to help add a little bit of liquid while it cooks. And then the last things we're gonna add are the Southwestern spice mixture. So I've gone ahead and I've added it here to my dish. And what this includes is a 1/2 teaspoon of chili powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of ground cumin, a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of ground pepper, and 1 teaspoon of salt. So go ahead and get that added in. And then you're gonna mix to combine. You're gonna stir it all up so that all of the ingredients are well combined. Once they're well combined, you'll go ahead and add the lid to the crock pot. And you have a choice here. You can either slow cook this on low for 4 to 6 hours, or you can cook it on high for 2 to 3 hours. But just set your crock pot and forget about it, and it'll be ready soon. A couple of times while the stew is cooking, I like to come in and give it a quick little stir, just so that the contents don't stick to the sides. I try to do this 2 to 3 times during the entire cooking time. Once it's done, what you're gonna do is go ahead and get a ladle and ladle yourself a big bowl of Southwest stew. And it's gonna be super hot, so be very, very careful. I like a really cold. Now, let's talk about some expert tips for making the Southwest stew. First of all, you can use, like I said earlier, the ground beef, ground turkey, or ground chicken, but I've also used thin sliced ribeye, and it's fantastic as a substitute. So if you like more of a beef stew with hunks of steak, then use ribeye. It's delicious. Also, this stew freezes really well. So if you want to make a double batch, you can definitely do that. Once you let the stew completely cool down, what you'll do is you'll either put the leftover stew in either a gallon-size Ziploc bag. If you don't like to use Ziploc bags or plastic bags, then you can use a freezer-safe container, just something with a lid. And then once it's cooled, place it in the freezer, and it'll last for about 3 months in the freezer. This stores perfectly as leftovers in the refrigerator as well. So it'll last about 3 to 4 days in the refrigerator, and it makes the perfect leftovers for lunch and dinner. Another thing about this stew is that you can add whatever toppings you love. So when I was growing up, I used to always make spaghetti noodles and cook spaghetti noodles at the bottom of the bowl and then pour the stew on top. So delicious. You can also do that with rice. It pairs perfectly with cornbread. So if you have cornbread or my quick peppery cheese bread that's on my website, pairs really well with the stew. And then you can always top it with your favorite toppings. My favorite is to do shredded cheddar cheese or Colby Jack cheese, either one. I like to spread that on top and let that melt a little bit. And then, I don't love this, but my kids do. They always add sour cream right on top. And my husband, he likes to use mayonnaise. I don't know why, but he loves it. Another thing you can add is crumbled up tortilla shells or Tostito chips or corn chips. Those are fantastic with this soup. Now, you're ready to dig in. And this is the best recipe on cold days. But if you're anything like me, I love to eat soup year round. So this is my go-to for a quick lunch or a quick dinner. And it's super healthy and nutritious. It's full of fiber, it's full of protein, and it's lower in calories, but you would never know by the taste because it's absolutely delicious. I cannot wait to hear what you think about this Southwest stew recipe. So leave me a comment, give it a thumbs up, and make sure you share it with your friends and family. I really hope you enjoy this stew recipe, and we'll see you again next time.